Good evening. The winter storm warning has ended, but the wintry weather has not.
The GTA remains under a freezing drizzle advisory at this hour, and that could continue throughout the night. All in all, it has made for a difficult day for those trying to get around. CTV's Janice Golding is live outside tonight with more. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. We certainly haven't seen the last of winter. It was a wet, stormy day, and while it is lightening up outside, it is still very slippery and slushy out here. Another blast of winter for the GTHA.
It's so cold! You know, it's not very nice. I'd rather it was like yesterday when it was +5 out.
A yellow winter storm warning issued for Toronto and surrounding areas for much of the day.
Don't be in a hurry. Don't try to make up time because, that's usually going to end up in heartache.
OPP Sergeant Kerry Schmidt says by 3:30 today, there had already been 160 crashes on our roads, with 40 on the go. With that in mind, he says if you've been in an accident,
get off the highway, get to someplace safe, stay in your vehicle. We've had far too many people get out of their vehicles only to be struck.
While the worst of it is over, the roads have been a wet, slippery mess with poor visibility at times.
It's hard.
Not very pleasant.
I don't want to drive like this. It's not safe for me.
The road conditions such a concern, many school boards decided to shut down busing, with public schools in Hamilton along with York University closed for the day.
The school canceled the school bus.
While salters were out on the roads finding salt for your own drive.
There's like 4 gas stations around here. Nobody has it, just this one has it. So it's funny, nobody has salt.
Salting and shoveling, not a fun task on a day like today.
Really heavy. It's really hard to shovel.
Although many who had to be out and about trying to make the best of it.
Not great for me, but she loves it, so
It's time for round 2. Yay!
Welcome to Canada.
Still, as evening falls and temperatures drop, Environment Canada warns roads and sidewalks will likely become icy and slippery. The yellow winter storm warning was replaced by a freezing drizzle advisory around 4 p.m. today. Environment Canada warning that there is an increased risk of injury due to slips and falls given ice buildup. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. And continuing with the forecast, here's a live look of the city. There's a shot of City Hall. Nobody out there skating. Now, we are past the bulk of the winter storm, but it's not quite over. There are still some concerns out there. Lindsay Morrison has a look at the current conditions outside. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, we are heading into the aftermath of this storm. In most areas, there is no longer falling precipitation. But as mentioned, the risk of freezing drizzle continues through the night tonight. And I've noticed already some very slippery surfaces out here, especially on areas that look like snow and have maybe been packed down. There could be an icy layer on top or below that snow or the accumulating ice pellets that have happened through the day today. So please be mindful out and about this evening. Here's a close look at the GTA. The precip moving out, as mentioned. We'll widen this out a little bit so you can see that it is still snowing well north and east of the GTA at this time. But again, we are saying goodbye to not only the falling precipitation, but we're also saying goodbye to snowfall warnings. Winter storm warnings have ended. So too have freezing rain warnings. There is still a freezing drizzle advisory in place for the GTA that has replaced those other warnings. And snowfall warnings remain in place for areas like Peterborough, for example. Right now, it is -2 degrees at Pearson Airport. It's -1 in the city of Hamilton, but it's 0 in Niagara Falls. And that's been the story all day long. This storm was very temperature sensitive. So depending on where you were, that likely impacted what type of precip you were getting, depending on the current temperature. Gusty winds out here coming from the east and the northeast. That's not overly pleasant either. Here's a look at what we're expecting as we continue through the evening hours. Again, falling precip, less of the story. Just watch for some icy surfaces with some very light freezing drizzle happening out here. We've got lots to talk about in your weather forecast. Beyond tonight, there's another system that's going to move in for the end of the week. So we'll talk about that coming up. For now, Nathan and Michelle, back inside to you.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Meanwhile, the storm causing some turbulence at the airport. Dozens of flights out of Pearson were canceled or delayed today as a result of the messy winter blast. The Greater Toronto Airport Authority says de-icing measures are taking place to make sure planes can fly and land safely. We spoke with some passengers at the airport today who are hoping their flights aren't delayed, including an athlete heading to Milan to cheer on our country's bobsledding team.
Me, I'm off to Milan, so
Yeah, you've got a pretty important destination to get to, eh?
100%. We got to represent Canada. We got to go cheer for our guys and girls. And we just got to go strong out there.
Yeah, no, I'm just probably going home to get to the same weather at home, yeah. Just hopefully I make it home.
Well, that's my question. Any flight delays or anything right now?
So far, everything's good, yeah. We're praying we're going to make it. Spend some time in a lounge, and hopefully we get out of here.
Data from the airport shows just over 20% of flights in and out of the airport have been canceled within the last 24 hours. Passengers are being urged to check their flight status before heading to the airport.
4 of the city's warming centers are open in response to the conditions. 2 are downtown on Elizabeth and George Streets. 1 is in North York near Yonge and Finch, and the other one is on Scarborough Golf Club Road south of Ellesmere. The warming centers provide a place for vulnerable residents to rest and have a meal.
Some changes for transit users today to deal with slippery and snow-covered roads. The TTC taking dozens of bus stops out of service around the noon hour. Many of those stops on hills or places where buses can run into trouble with slick roads. This was the scene this afternoon at Midland and Ellesmere. The TTC says stops will be put back into service as conditions improve.
And still ahead tonight, the first weather test for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. We'll show you how the service fared during the first big snow event since it opened.
But we turn now to the Milano Cortina Olympics, and Canadian hockey fans are breathing a huge sigh of relief after today's first men's elimination game. We'll have more on that in a moment.
But first, Canada has added to its medal count with 2 more trips to the podium on day 12 of the games, and one of them is gold. Short track speed skater Stephen Dubois won the men's 500 meters today. He led from start to finish, clocking in at 40.835 seconds. 2 Dutch skaters finished second and third. It's Canada's first gold in short track at these games and our 4th gold medal overall. Dubois now has 2 medals after earning silver in the mixed team relay last week. The 28-year-old from Terrebonne, Quebec, has 5 Olympic medals in his career.
And there was another medal today, courtesy of Canadian short track speed skaters. Our women's 3,000-meter relay team captured bronze. Canada led for long stretches of the final before slipping to third. They finished 0.3 of a second behind gold medalist South Korea. Host Italy took silver. Canada now has a total of 14 medals at these games, 5 of them in short track speed skating. We are currently in 11th in the overall medal standings. Now, it wasn't a medal game for Team Canada in hockey today, but definitely a nail-biter.
The team, which was expected to cruise into a gold medal matchup, almost ended its Olympic journey today, coming close to losing in today's game against Czechia. CTV's Rahim Ladani has fan reaction.
Excitement, relief, and everything in between.
I'm in disbelief. I have shivers. It was insane. I can't believe it.
Team Canada's men's hockey team is moving on to the semifinals after a nail-biter that saw Canada fall behind to Czechia in the third period.
Canada by far has the most skill, the most talent, the most speed, the most of everything, except for right now, potentially not the best strategy, because right now it almost bit them on their butt. They almost got in trouble.
Inside the Dog and Bear pub in Queen West, fans are speaking directly to the game-winning goal scorer.
On behalf of Toronto, Mitch Marner, all is forgiven. That was beautiful.
The former Toronto Maple Leaf delivered the heroics, scoring in overtime to lift Canada over the Czechs. The moment even prompting his former team to tweet a Canadian flag and magician's wand for some Marner magic. But that's already creating backlash amongst fans, who are calling out the organization for trading him, while others haven't forgotten Marner's playoff track record with the blue and white.
The worst guy you know made a great goal. Right.
At the Ford Performance Center, Gino watched the thrilling game from start to finish.
My heart was in my chest, and now we breathe easy, and gold medal still in sight. Only gold for Canada.
However, Team Canada isn't skating away unscathed. Captain Sidney Crosby suffered an apparent injury and left the ice midway through the second period. As Canada now prepares for their semifinal match on Friday, some feel this cliff-hanging game will actually help the team moving forward.
You see the teams that have a more difficult route to the final, they tend to win these types of games and these types of trophies, and it's more memorable.
Now Canada will need at least one more win to guarantee themselves a medal at these Olympic Games. Rahim Ladani, CTV News, Toronto.
From the ice to the diamond, spring training continues for the Toronto Blue Jays.
The team looking to capture the magic of last season as they get set to start this season. And while they have plenty of fans here in Toronto, they also have a big following in Florida. That's where we find CTV's Sean Leithang tonight, joining us live from Dunedin with more on the Jays' southern fans. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, there's lots of fans from all over Canada who come to see the Toronto Blue Jays in Dunedin. There's lots of fans who live here all year round, and we're finding out that the city really has a love affair with this team. Mardi Gras in Dunedin, Florida. The small town of 38,000 celebrating, and while the beads are flying, the parade passes by TD Park, and it isn't hard to find Blue Jays fans. What do the Jays mean to Dunedin?
A lot. You're the best.
We love the Jays. This is Blue Jay country down here.
Bowser's, located just up the road from the ballpark, styles themselves as a Blue Jays bar.
It puts Bowser's on the map.
And while Mardi Gras brings out the crowds, owner Janet Bostert has noticed something different about Canadian visitors.
A lot of our Canadians, I call them our Canadians, that come down to visit us, they're not staying as long.
While support for the Blue Jays can be seen on the homes and in the shop windows of Dunedin, a recent report from visitflorida.org shows 15% fewer Canadians came to Florida through the first 3 quarters of 2025. So what's happening here?
You know, they're family to us, so we don't feel it in that way.
The Blue Jays have been in Dunedin for their entire 50-year history, the only major league team to do so. Local Mayor Mo Freeney says the team adds an estimated $200 million to the area economy, and this year Jays ticket sales are up.
When the season's on, you know, everybody's walking around town and filling the restaurants and shopping in the shops.
Even inside Blue Jays spring training, as fans gather from Toronto and elsewhere, the players feel the warmth from this community.
Just driving through and seeing everyone's kind of the Laddie's face and George's face, not my face, but everyone else's face up on the board. It's awesome, and you know, walking downtown, it's such a great town to kind of walk and see all the Blue Jays fans out there.
When you get closer to the ballpark, you see all the Blue Jays and all the Blue Jays logo, and the people feels really familiar with the team, and we obviously feel that.
Helping the players feel a bit of the support they get at home while they prepare for the season. And
it's a lot warmer than Canada right now, I'll tell you that.
Vice President of Florida Operations for the Blue Jays, Shelby Nelson, says Blue Jays fandom here lasts longer than the spring.
It's really, really strong. I mean, we had some watch parties during the World Series, and they were packed.
The club opened up TD Ballpark during the playoffs, hosting 10 watch parties through the World Series. And this past Saturday, they welcomed the Jays back with their annual golf cart parade.
So we're going to be rooting them on. We want it all.
A partnership rooted in support for the team and each other. And one of the biggest events they'll have in Dunedin this year is on Saturday for the Blue Jays opening game here at TD Ballpark. Mo Freeney will be throwing out the first pitch. I wanted to update you as well. I'm dealing with my own weather-related issues. It was 25 degrees before the sun peaked behind the trees, and it dropped to 21, so I was briefly chilly for about 30 seconds until I grabbed my blazer. So we're fighting our own battles here. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithang. I'll send it back to you.
Oh, it must be tough. Glad you were spared from the storm today, Sean. I think you'll survive. Still ahead, another MP lost to the Liberals. Matt Genereux crosses the floor to join Mark Carney's team. What convinced him to make the move, and what the Conservative leader has to say about the departure.
But first, testimony continued today at the sexual assault trial of Frank Stronach.
The third of 7 complainants took the stand to testify about her alleged interactions with billionaire businessman Stronach. CTV's Allison Hurst was in court.
The second complainant in the sexual assault case against billionaire Frank Stronach testified today. She can't be identified, but she's a former employee and the second of 7 women expected to take the stand in the judge-alone trial. She claims she was fired from one of his businesses without being given a reason, and after she called his office to inquire about why, she says he invited her to dinner to share what he'd learned. During their dinner, the former employee says, "What he told me was that they said I was selling drugs and that's why they fired me," which she says she wasn't. She testified during the dinner Stronach was polite and respectful, adding, "It felt like he was a fatherly mentor who was trying to get an answer for me." The complainant explained after the dinner Stronach invited her back to his harborfront condo and she agreed to go, but says when she got there, she felt uncomfortable. She testified he was flirting with her and "I didn't get that fatherly vibe anymore." The former employee says she was there maybe 15 to 20 minutes before insisting on leaving. She claims that's when he groped her. "I was up against the wall and he was up against me," she testified, saying while he leaned in to give her a European-style kiss on each cheek goodbye, his hands were touching my breasts and they were touching my hips and just up and down my body. The complainant says despite his requests for her to stay, she left, adding, "I was terrified and I don't even know to this day if he knows that." During her cross-examination, defense counsel Leora Shemesh points out there's new information in her testimony. "You have never mentioned that when you were leaving the apartment, you were putting on a coat and a lapel is being held. That is brand new," says the defense. And the complainant replies, "That's right, I didn't go into those details." The former employee told the court maybe a few weeks or a month after the incident, she was asked to interview for a job at head office. She testified while working there, she might see Stronach in passing 2 to 3 times a week. Shemesh asked if she'd ever suggested to anyone that she might be uncomfortable in a meeting with Stronach. The former employee testified no, that wouldn't happen because they had very different roles. Stronach has pleaded not guilty to all 12 charges. The trial continues tomorrow. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
A woman was sent to hospital following a 2-vehicle crash on the Lakeshore overnight. It happened shortly after midnight in the area of Lakeshore Road and Burlington Street. Paramedics assessed 2 people at the scene and transported 1 woman to hospital with serious injuries. The cause of the crash is still under investigation.
Toronto police are searching for 10 suspects wanted in an early morning break and enter in the West End. This happened around 4:50 yesterday morning at a store near Queen and Ossington. Police say 9 people broke in and stole around $20,000 worth of merchandise, while a 10th suspect waited outside in a vehicle. Investigators have now shared images of all 10 people wanted in this case. They're also looking for 3 vehicles they allegedly say fled: a black BMW X3, a gray Volkswagen Atlas, and a black Honda Civic. Anyone with information is asked to contact 14 Division or Crime Stoppers.
Firefighters north of Peterborough spent part of the afternoon battling a blaze at a commercial property. When crews arrived around 12:30, the building, which houses a rust-proofing business, was fully engulfed in flames. Thick black smoke could be seen several kilometers away. They managed to keep the fire from spreading to nearby properties, and fortunately no one was injured. The cause of this fire is not yet known. Representatives of all levels of government were on hand this morning to mark a major milestone in construction of the city's next new subway line.
The Ontario line will transform how people move across our city. Over 15 kilometers of new subway, getting hundreds of thousands of Torontonians where they need to go faster and more reliably.
This is a perfect example. I always say I don't give 2 hoots about political stripes, and I don't. This is what happens when you collaborate municipally, provincially, and federally.
The province is breaking ground on an elevated guideway and 4 new stations for the future subway. Crews have begun work on the 3-kilometer track, which will connect the Don Valley, Flemington Park, and Thorncliffe Park stations. Ground has also been broken at Cosburn Station. Transit officials say they're building the Ontario line while bearing in mind issues faced with previous projects.
We've talked a lot in the last couple of weeks about the lessons that have been learned from the Eglinton Crosstown, and I can promise everybody that they're being applied directly on the subways program, not just the Ontario line, but the Yonge North extension, the subway extension to Scarborough, as well as the other elevated guideway that's already going up on Eglinton West.
Metrolink CEO Michael Lindsay says the Ontario line is on track to be completed in the early 2030s, but the agency won't commit to a more precise date after repeated delays in opening Line 5.
General Motors is pledging new investments in its Oshawa assembly plant a few weeks after cutting the 3rd shift there. About 500 people were directly laid off at GM, while several hundred more positions were slashed at suppliers that depended on the shift. The automaker now says it will spend $63 million to upgrade stamping operations at the Oshawa plant. GM has been pulling back on production in Canada as the Trump administration has gutted support for EVs and imposed tariffs on the auto industry. Jack Uppel, GM Canada's president and managing director, said the investment underscores Oshawa's importance in the company's full-size truck portfolio. The federal Conservatives took another hit today when an Alberta MP crossed the floor to join the Liberal government. As CTV's Mike LeCouture reports, the move could create a pathway for the Prime Minister to secure a majority in the House.
Matt brings a wealth of experience.
Prime Minister Mark Carney praising his newly poached MP. Matt Genereux says his decision to leave the Conservatives was more about the team he was joining.
Quite simply couldn't sit on the sidelines after seeing what the Prime Minister was, the ambitious agenda he was undertaking across the country and across the world.
In November, Genereux said he was leaving politics to spend more time with his family. But the Alberta MP says it was Carney's speech at Davos that convinced him to change his mind.
I think it opened a lot of eyes for Canadians, Albertans, Edmontonians, just how serious this national heating crisis truly is.
A Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, responded on social media, calling the floor crossing a betrayal of the people in Genereux's riding who voted for affordable food and homes, safe streets, and a strong resource sector. And some believe Genereux could suffer the consequences of his decision in the next federal election.
When he starts knocking on doors, he's going to get a bit of a wake-up call that these people didn't vote for a good speech in Davos. They voted for a Conservative member of Parliament to represent their Conservative values, and that's not what they're getting.
But Poilievre could feel the effects first. Genereux is the third MP he's lost to the Liberals in the last 4 months. While polls have the Liberals and Conservatives in a dead heat, Carney has a 29-point lead when it comes to preferred prime minister.
When some caucus members leave to cross the floor to join the Liberals, that's their own vote of what I'll say discontent with Pierre Poilievre as a leader and as a potential prime minister.
Now, this latest floor crosser leaves the Liberals 3 seats shy of a majority. And with 3 by-elections coming up, they could get that majority without holding a general election. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
The federal minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade spoke from Mexico today following the end of a visit there this week by a Canadian delegation.
As Canada looks to double its non-U.S. exports over the next decade, we intend to deepen our economic and people-to-people ties with Mexico. On that score, this Team Canada trade mission has sent a strong message about Canada and Canadian businesses' commitment to establishing an ongoing and lasting presence here in Mexico.
Ottawa is looking to diversify trade links in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and threats to abandon the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. Hundreds of delegates representing businesses and key sectors from across Canada took part in this country's biggest trade mission to Mexico in decades.
The reduced demand from Canadians flying to the U.S. has airlines making changes. Air Transat is canceling all flights to the States starting this spring.
And WestJet is eliminating routes. CTV's Alex Carpa now on what it means for the airlines and also your travel plans.
Yeah, this is myself with my daughter when she was going to school just outside of Pittsburgh.
Mike Gebhardt is a frequent traveler to the United States.
Well, on average, I would probably travel 3, 4, maybe 5.
His daughter lives in Alabama, but visiting her sometimes is not easy.
I do fly out of Saskatchewan most of the time, so it is a bit of a challenge. Leave early in the morning, come back late at night.
But traveling could get a little more chaotic for passengers like Gebhardt. WestJet and Air Transat recently slashed several routes from Canada to U.S. cities.
It's something to always be aware of.
Statistics Canada data last month showed that Canadians continue to take fewer trips to the U.S. in November 2025. Travel agent Daryl Silver says passengers shouldn't be worried about this shift.
Yes, could there be more problems now? I suppose, but in general, I don't think that that's significant if that is happening.
A few travel experts we spoke to say passenger demand to the U.S. from Canada is down and say it's no surprise that airlines like WestJet and Air Transat are reducing these routes.
It's one of those things where they feel they can focus on domestic, where they excel, especially on the West Coast, and become more profitable. It's good for them.
John Graddick says the reduction is consumer-driven.
Not driven by the weather, not driven by anything else. Consumers have decided that they'd rather spend their leisure travel dollars on flights other than the USA, and they're reacting to that.
Meanwhile, Porter Airlines announcing it's adding routes to the U.S., saying travelers want more options. As for Gebhardt, he says he'll continue traveling to the U.S. to see his daughter, but when it comes to vacationing south of the border, he admits he's thinking twice, especially as flight options are reduced. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Pope Leo presided over his first Ash Wednesday Mass since becoming pontiff. He walked with dozens of monks, priests, bishops, and cardinals from one Roman church to another. During his homily, the Pope lamented the ashes of international law and justice that have been left by today's wars and conflicts. Ash Wednesday marks the beginning of Lent, the 7-week period of fasting and repentance that leads up to Easter. Believers have ash rubbed or sprinkled on their foreheads in the form of a cross during Mass as a sign of remorse.
Meanwhile, Ramadan started today for observant Muslims in the GTA and across Canada. They will be daily fasting from dawn to sunset during the Islamic holy month. It is also a time of increased worship, religious reflection, charity, and good deeds. Socially, Ramadan often brings families and friends together in festive gatherings around meals to break their fast.
In BC, the Prime Minister celebrated the Lunar Year with members of the community. Now, Mark Carney visited a seafood restaurant in Richmond, shaking hands, chatting with people, and posing for photos. He says the Year of the Horse is an opportunity to recognize the contributions of Asian Canadian communities in building Canada.
Artificial intelligence is moving faster than ever, and so are robots. Have you seen this out of China? These Chinese-made humanoid robots have astonishing new capabilities. They can do backflips, martial arts, and move much faster than ever due to major upgrades and technological breakthroughs. They were featured Monday during China's most-watched TV show, the annual CCTV Spring Festival Gala, and they've gone viral as observers marvel at the advancements, noting a big difference. This was last year's version. Beijing has made robotics a key priority as it continues to dominate the space. Research by the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology back in 2024 estimated China will have more than 100 million humanoid robots in use after the year 2045.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, when you're shopping, you may be offered free products, but it's often to get you to buy something else. A student says after she accepted skincare samples, she signed a contract to buy a $14,000 therapy light, something she now regrets. I'll have that story. That's just ahead.
Tomorrow's commutes will be less hazardous than today's were. However, it is still worth mentioning that we are under a freezing drizzle advisory, and we've got the possibility of some slick conditions into tomorrow morning. I know there were some school bus cancellations earlier today, so just be mindful waking up, heading out the door tomorrow. Roads, sidewalks, driveways could be a little slick out there. And a heads up, we're in for a little more in the way of active weather, this time for Friday. Looks like we're going to get some rain to start, followed by some snow for the second half of the day. And this pattern follows us into the weekend. We'll take a look at your 7-day forecast when CTV News at 6 returns. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, chances are you've been walking in a mall or maybe searching online and been offered free samples of products to try.
Sales staff can sometimes be aggressive, and you have to be careful you don't sign contracts for something you might not need or want. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. Well, some people think if you agree to buy something, you can always return it if you change your mind. But a cooling off period only applies to certain sales. A student found that out after purchasing a $14,000 therapy light. Meredith is a student from Mississauga who asked we only use her first name. Last November, she was walking through a mall when she was offered free skincare samples.
This one is a skin relaxer cream.
She was told she was eligible for a free skin analysis, and during the session, a salesperson used a red light therapy device.
And they started putting it on my face without me telling them to.
Meredith agreed to pay almost $1,400 for the therapy light, but that was only a down payment. When she got home, she realized she signed a contract to pay a $10,000 loan at 25% interest. With the deposit, it was a commitment of about $14,000.
I feel scared because I don't have that money. I'm just a student.
Meredith signed the contract with the soap tree. She thought she had a cooling off period where she could return the product if she changed her mind. When she went back to the mall, the store she bought it from was gone.
The store is not there. It's completely empty.
If someone comes to your home and you sign a contract, there is a 10-day cooling off period where you can change your mind. But if you go to a retail store, the cooling off period does not apply. As well as signing a contract in your home, the cooling off period also applies if you join a fitness club, buy a newly built condo, take out a payday loan, or purchase a timeshare. CTV News reached out to the soap tree but did not get a response. The company that holds the loan is LendCare. A spokesperson told us, "We are conducting a review of this merchant and the circumstances surrounding this situation. We have canceled this loan and refunded the associated fees, so the customer has no further obligation." That was great news for Meredith, who plans to be more careful signing contracts in the future.
Thank you, CTV News. I'm really grateful for your help. I couldn't do it without you, and I'm just really happy. Thank you.
And many people also don't realize there is no cooling off period when buying a car. If you go to a dealership, do not sign a contract to purchase a vehicle unless you're sure you want it. If you change your mind, you can lose your deposits. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, we were treated to yet another winter storm today. Fortunately, we're through with the worst of it, but freezing drizzle is the issue tonight.
Yeah, not quite out of the woods yet, but we're getting there, Lindsay.
Yeah, you know, I'm happy to see no longer any freezing rain falling, any snow falling, Nathan and Michelle, and ice pellets. Oh boy, those hurt a little bit earlier if you were caught outside in those. But yes, the risk of freezing drizzle continues for tonight. And I've encountered some slippery surfaces out here, so I imagine many people around the GTA are experiencing the same. Perhaps if you're shoveling some of that snow and those ice pellets that fell earlier today, so do take care. Here is an update. Environment Canada now ending the snowfall warning that was in place for areas like north toward Port Carling and also east into the Peterborough area. That is now gone. What's left behind is this freezing drizzle advisory for the GTA and areas north and west of here. This is what's left of the system that brought us all the active weather. We'll zoom in a little closer so you can see it is still snowing for communities to our east, but again, it's the impact is lessening, the system is weakening, and we are now in the aftermath of this storm. Maybe an additional centimeter or two for areas like Huntsville and Orillia, but don't expect further accumulation here tonight locally in the GTA. I will say this, we did not see the worst case scenario when it came to the freezing rain today, and here's what's left of the ice accretion. Not much left to happen, but again, freezing drizzle a concern in and around the GTA and certainly for areas to our west. All right, here's what's coming next. Thursday is a bit of a quiet day between the storms, and then we've got this system rolling in for Friday morning. So this is around 7 a.m. A few showers to start, and then some colder air is going to filter in with some gusty winds, and that allows for a transition to some snow for Friday. Speaking of winds, it's been very windy today with winds out of the east and northeast. They're going to settle down somewhat into the day tomorrow, but overall we do remain quite blustery out here for the next several hours. Temperature-wise, it is -7 degrees at Toronto Pearson. Just want to point out the fact that it is 7 degrees on the plus side, -2 at Pearson Airport, wind chill -7, 7 degrees on the plus side in Windsor. So yes, some milder air certainly starting to creep its way into our province. Through the overnight hours tonight, we do expect that we'll hold steady at around -2 here in the city. Wind chill of -8. Normal overnight low this time of year is -8 degrees. Tomorrow, back above freezing for us, about +2 is what we're forecasting here locally. A mostly cloudy day with that chance of freezing drizzle, and yes, still some blustery winds. It's going to be quite mild tomorrow in places like St. Thomas and Welland, 6 degrees for the high, about 4 for you in Aurora, 1 degree though in Burlington, and 2 degrees for you if you're joining us from the Trenton area. Let's take a look at that 7-day forecast, because as mentioned, we have the possibility of some active weather for Friday and for Saturday. Over the weekend, chance of flurries or light rain showers. We're going to dry out and see some sunshine returning into the early part of next week, but we've also got some chilly overnight lows to look forward to as well. That's your look at the forecast for now. Nathan and Michelle, going to send it back inside to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, from the Super Bowl to the big screen, Bad Bunny lands his first leading movie role in a historical drama.
Today's snow and freezing rain was the first weather test for the new Eglinton Crosstown LRT.
Some commuters started their day uncertain if the line would be plagued by the same issues as the Finch West LRT. CTV's Beth McDonnell reports.
As the storm carried on, an Eglinton LRT train pulled into O'Connor Station. The messy February system, an early stress test of Line 5, just 11 days since its long-awaited opening.
They've been planning for like 50 years or so. I think they would have expected something like this. It's not a new, it's Toronto, right? Like winter's always here.
Earlier this winter, the new Line 6 along Finch West was shut down in a snowstorm just days after it launched, and some wondered how the LRT on its above-ground section through Scarborough would hold up in bad weather.
No, I definitely do have concerns. We have no idea what it could do, how it can withstand those conditions. Hopefully, I hope that it does withstand those conditions.
During the morning commute, there was rain and a little uncertainty on how the storm might affect the LRT.
I don't know about the weather, where we're going to see this afternoon if I could go home. But otherwise, it's nice.
But as the rain turned to snow and the wind and ice pellets picked up, trains kept arriving within 10 minutes. And for riders on the platform, it was just a matter of patience.
With the wind, not very pleasant. But if this is how they design it, they just have to deal with it.
With the mix of snow and ice during this storm, it's really tough to wait on the platform as it's blowing in your face. So when you're taking the LRT, you really need to tuck in behind these barriers for protection. As the afternoon progressed and snow accumulated, a worker came to shovel the long platform. Many riders grateful the line is in operation and kept on during the day to get them where they need to go.
We've been waiting for it for a long time, so I hope it's gonna work well.
Especially if sometimes I'm gonna be late at work, so it's very beneficial.
People enjoying a shorter commute that stood up in the storm. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
The Premier is floating the idea of reviving the taste of the Danforth.
I miss the taste of the Danforth, so I will commit, and I'll talk to our friend the boss there, to see if we could put money in to revitalize the taste of the Danforth. And Mayor, you aren't getting off scot-free. You put a little bit in, but we'll put a little more in. Because I remember going down there and it was like packed, probably 500,000 people. So we'll commit to that as long as we get partnership with our other colleagues.
The festival, which is normally held during the second week of August, was canceled for the past 2 years. Organizers had said the event was dealing with funding issues. North York General says it's now the first hospital in the province using a new AI tool to reduce emergency department wait times. North York General is home to one of the highest volume emergency departments in Ontario, with more than 121,000 visits last year. The hospital says as wait times grow, there are increased risks patients may need to be admitted or could even leave before being seen. That inspired the launch of Smart ER Zones. The AI tool is designed to alert staff if a patient's been waiting longer than a set amount of time. It then shares recommendations for relocating them to areas of the ER with more capacity to enable faster treatment. The hospital says smarter ER zones have undergone extensive testing, and all care decisions remain with clinicians.
Netflix is reportedly threatening the tech giant behind TikTok with immediate litigation over its AI video generation software.
This is not over. Not by a long shot.
That's a moment from the recently released final season of Stranger Things. It's one of several copyrighted properties that Netflix is alleging were improperly copied by Dance 2.0, which is owned by ByteDance. Variety reports Netflix has joined other studios in filing suit against the Chinese tech giant, calling the video generation tool a high-speed piracy engine. The company has said it will add guardrails preventing copyright abuse or the recreation of actors' likenesses.
After winning big at the Grammys and playing the Super Bowl halftime show, Bad Bunny has secured his first ever lead role in a movie.
United States, Canada, and my motherland, mi patria, Puerto Rico.
The singer has appeared in movies before, including titles like Bullet Train and Happy Gilmore 2, but he'll now star in the directorial debut of fellow Puerto Rican artist and Grammy winner Residente. Now, the movie is titled Puerto Rico, the former English name for its island. It's described as an epic Caribbean Western and historical drama inspired by true events. No release date has been set.
After the break, thinking about renting your home for the 2026 World Cup? Airbnb is moving the goalposts so first-time listers can score big time.
Earlier in the newscast, we aired a dated story on the Frank Stronach sexual assault trial. CTV News apologizes for the error.
Today, testimony continued with the third of 7 complainants taking the stand to testify about her alleged interactions with the billionaire businessman. CTV's Allison Hurst reports.
The sex assault trial of billionaire Frank Stronach is hearing from the third of 7 complainants in the case against him. The woman testifying today, who cannot be identified, described herself as a regular at his restaurant and nightclub, saying the incident happened in the fall of 1977 when she was in her early 20s. She testified she'd gotten to know the auto industry tycoon through casual interactions at his restaurant complex, which included Rooney's, a nightclub, Le Connoisseur, a fine dining restaurant, and a basement pub, Red Rooster. This particular evening, they had dinner, after which he invited her to see his apartment. Shortly after they got there, she told the court, Mr. Stronach disappeared, and the next thing I know, I was being pushed over what looked to me like the arm of a chair, and Mr. Stronach sort of lifted up my skirt and tried to rape me. The complainant testified she immediately stood up, grabbed her coat, saw he had no expression on his face, and left. This was somebody I had seen and met over a period of time that I came to trust, and I had no reason to have apprehension being in his presence. I felt safe, so the whole incident came as a complete surprise. It was a betrayal, she said on the stand. During a cross-examination, Liora Shemish asked the woman about her position when she's pushed over the chair, saying, "You don't know if his penis is exposed." "No, I don't see him," said the complainant. "He was behind me." The defense also asked her about what she was wearing that night, suggesting she'd indicated to police she may have been wearing pantyhose in her June 2024 statement. "Is it fair to say you were uncertain whether you were wearing pantyhose or stockings?" the defense asks. "I never said I wore pantyhose," said the complainant. "You agree that you were unsure if you were wearing pantyhose or stockings?" "I was sure I was wearing stockings." In that same statement to police, Shemish points out, "You indicate I don't feel like a victim." The complainant replies, "I'm a survivor." All of the allegations against Stronach are between 1977 and 1990. Court has previously heard from 2 other complainants. Stronach has pleaded not guilty to all 12 charges. The trial continues tomorrow. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
As Toronto and 15 other North American cities prepare to host the FIFA World Cup, we're getting another sign of just how many visitors are expected to travel for the tournament. Airbnb says searches for stays in FIFA host cities have increased by an average of 80% compared to the same period last year. Today, the company offered a new cash incentive aimed at boosting the number of listings ahead of the World Cup. This comes amid warnings from travel industry experts that accommodations will be scarce and costs will be high in Toronto. They're expected to spike even more dramatically in fellow Canadian host city, Vancouver.
On the markets today, the Canadian dollar was up to just over 73 cents U.S. West Texas Intermediate is up to 65.05. Western Canadian Select is down to just under $46 a barrel. And the TSX hit a new all-time high today, ending the day at 33,389.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Just ahead, a never-before-seen look at the Beatles from a unique perspective. Paul McCartney's own photographs on display at the AGO, capturing their rise to stardom. Stay with us.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
For many fans, the memories of Beatlemania were captured through their music.
But for one of the Beatles, those memories were saved on film. More than 250 photos taken by Paul McCartney himself in 1963 and 64 will soon be on display at the Art Gallery of Ontario. Our Jessica Smith has a sneak peek.
A behind-the-scenes look at a band that helped shape a generation.
The photographs are really great pictures unto themselves. And then they tell an important story that no one else really could have told except one of the Beatles.
A new exhibition at the Art Gallery of Ontario titled Paul McCartney Photographs 1963 to 64, Eyes of the Storm, is making its Canadian debut, giving people a never-before-seen look at more than 250 photos taken by Paul McCartney himself.
He spoke of it as, you know, for him it was a way of capturing something that he didn't know how long it would last. I mean, decades later, we know it's long-lasting.
Each picture a candid look at the iconic band's early days on their journey to global stardom.
It's 3 months. It's the end of 1963 into like the beginning of 1964, so it's a very short period, and it's that moment when the Beatles become the Beatles. Like, it's that Beatlemania.
Giving a rare look into the lives of Paul McCartney, John Lennon, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr.
These are like family photographs. And there's the contrast is that there are professional photographers with them, and we do show some of that.
Helping fans span generations connect in a new way to their favorite band. The Paul McCartney Photographs 1963 to 64 Eyes of the Storm photo exhibition is now open to AGO members. It opens to the public on March 24th and runs all the way through until June 7th. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
All right, one last look at the forecast with Lindsay Morrison outside. Hey, Lindsay.
Nathan, Michelle, we've talked a lot about the freezing rain, the freezing drizzle today, but many communities had pretty significant snow this afternoon, this morning as well. So do take care if you're going to be out shoveling tonight, and watch again for some slippery spots. Here's what's left of the storm. Not too much. A freezing drizzle advisory is in effect for the GTA and areas to our west and to our north. Next 3 days, yeah, it looks like we're going to get into another round of active weather for Friday and possibly for Saturday as well. A bit of mixing once again, with temperatures on the plus side of freezing. I know this feels like wintry weather, but this is certainly a sign of spring that we're starting to introduce some warmer air to these storm systems. But again, take care with the cleanup, everyone. Nathan and Michelle, back inside to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.